This is John for Global Traveler. Today I have the pleasure of talking travel with Suzi Quatro, one of my all-time favorite musicians. Good morning and belated happy birthday, Suzi.
Thank you very much. And I don't have a hangover. How's that?
That's a good start.
Yeah, it
Before
is.
we're here to talk about travel, we're here to also talk about your book. I absolutely loved your book. Um,
Thank you.
we're going to get to that. First, I really want to start off with you did a fascinating interview with Haley Palmer, and boy, did I learn so much about you. And the weird thing was, I learned a lot about myself from listening to you going back and forth with her. I just wanted to say I thought that was an amazing exchange between the two of you, Dr.
Yeah,
Quattro.
thank you very much. You know, the funny thing is, funny that you should say that because at my birthday party last night, one of the guests I've known for a long time, and he said exactly that. He said it wasn't. He said you didn't take over the show, but you got into her, and then she was listening. So it was like watching a private conversation almost.
Well, yeah, I took a lot of what
Yeah.
you said about her and her feelings, and I did a lot of reflection on myself. And honestly, I did learn a lot about myself in that short period of time. So again, I encourage everyone to check that out. Check out that interview. I'll put that up in the links. But
I'm
let's
I'm
get
so
down.
happy about that. Yeah, it makes me so happy that it's touching people, this book.
We're definitely going to get there. First, you said you're in Hamburg right now. How are you enjoying Hamburg? I know you've been there a million times. How are you enjoying it?
Well, this is kind of a special trip because it was my 75th yesterday. So, I'm having fun. I'm having a good time. We're going out again tonight. So, yeah.
You've got a tour coming up, and I know you've gone to Australia 20 some odd times.
No, 41 is, I'm coming up to my 41st tour of Australia in
Wow.
October. 41.
Wow. So,
Crazy.
so in all those years, obviously you spent a lot of time there. Can you tell a few of your favorite spots in Australia?
That's hard to say. Um, I think if I was going to live there, I could live in Melbourne because it's a city with a vibe. It's got a vibe. Brisbane is another place I could live. Sydney is just isn't very much like any other big city, so it doesn't pull me quite so much. But yeah, we've had a love affair since 1974. It's been ongoing. So I always say on my Australian interviews, we should never get married.
And I watched. You're very gracious. It was almost 2 years ago today when we did our last interview, and I rewatched it, and I picked up something that you said where travel is. You like travel because it sets your schedule. Could you expound a little bit on that?
I'm so anal about it. I've done it for 61 years now. It's so nice to know what you're doing every minute of the day. Really. It's so like, you have a wake up time. You have a go to the airport time. You have a flight time. You have an arrival time. You have a go to the hotel time. You have a sound check time. You have a gig time. You have a go back to the hotel time and a wake up time for the morning. So it's just it's a scheduled existence. It runs on a time scale, this business. So that when you're not on the road, you kind of go, oh, what do I do? That's why I do so many projects to schedule myself. It's crazy.
When you're on the road and you have time, though, do you plan your day out for other stuff, or are you one of those people who just kind of wings it throughout the day?
No, I like to know what I'm doing all the time, but when I have off days, I will plan the off days out if I'm always doing projects, I'm finishing off my third poetry book now, my eighth book published. We're in the middle of making my new album. So if it's an off day, and if sometimes I say, not often, I'm doing nothing today. Sometimes I do that, but it's not often. But it's either a rehearsal day because I'm not doing a gig. And if it's not a rehearsal, it's go to the gym day, or it's work on one of my projects day, or it's write a song day, or it's something. But every now and again I do nothing and I put it on Facebook. Guess what? I'm doing nothing today. Nobody believes it.
Well,
They call me a
you deserve
liar.
it at times, as hard as you work. What are one or two things that Susie Quatro must always bring when you travel?
Oh gosh, my noise machine, which is it plays white noise in my headphones, and it doesn't matter what you're hearing outside, you won't hear it when you go to sleep. That's important. and my, what else do I always, oh, my voice warm up. It's on a little machine. Can't
Oh,
travel without either of those. Yeah. You need your sleep and your vocal warm up, and then you're all set.
interesting. Okay, let's get down to the subject at hand. Grave Undertakings. Absolutely loved it. I read the your description of it. You started. This is where I want to know. How did you get from you started with you wanted to write a book about gravestone quotes, and all of a sudden it became a book. I don't even know how to describe it. There's psychology in it. There's humor in it. There's heartwarming stories. Could you give us a little bit about that progress or process, I should say?
Yeah, sure, sure. I am a self-confessed since childhood graveyard dweller, and I know a lot of people like me that like to go in and read the tombstones. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. You know, the ones that are cracked and nearly crumbling to the ground, and the ones that are untended, and the ones that are overtended. It tells you everything, everything about the life that you need to know. So I've done that my whole life. Then, when I was in my 20s, I came up with this Grave Undertakings. What a great title. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can collect all my famous friends' quotes and make a book out of it. So for 35 years, this is what I did. And I got a lot of fantastic quotes in there. Then I'm starting to assemble the book. I'm looking at it, I'm typing them out, and I went, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's got to be a reason why these tombstones are in a book. So what can that reason be? I know. It can be 6 students meeting up for a psychology course, 20 lessons, and it takes you through their lives. The ups, the downs, the entanglements, the problems, the baggage, the childhood, the this and that. The reason, because it's to me, it's like I've always had an interest in psychology anyway, as you can tell, because I could write that book. And I like to people read, and I like to know what makes you tick. It's part of my my personality. And so I wanted it to have a reason. And then I thought, you go through all this. We're all so important. Ha ha ha. You know, yeah, really, everything that we do in our lives. And then at the end, you're 6 foot under with a few words on a headstone. And doesn't that just make you stop and think?
It does.
It's that sign that I saw that's in, I think, either the prologue or something. It's 15 or something, and we were on the road in the Pleasure Seekers, and we stopped at a gas station and getting your Coca-Cola, whatever you get, and the sign on the wall. And it said, please do not let me get to the end of my life, find out I haven't lived.
Wow.
That went into me like an arrow of truth. And that's kind of my personality. So when I came up with this idea, how to write this book, and I thought, well, I can put all my, on this canvas called life, I can paint my stories. And then I had to find 6 good types with good names. I came up with some good names. Once you got their names, their characters are attached to their names, like all of us have, you know. People look like their names most of the time. They do. They do. You know, like Edmund. I mean, you know, there's some good Penelope Perfect. Oh my God, you could write her. Max Morose, you know, Mr. Marlon Brando. So I came up with the names, and then the stories just started. And I wanted each one to have a distinct baggage, a distinct backstory to tell. I didn't want anybody overlapping. So I came up with 6 different personality types. And then during the 20 lessons, I had to become a student myself because although I'm a psychologically minded person and I'm quite good at it, I can people read really well and I know a lot. When there was something I needed the professor to say intellectually, I actually had to look it up and learn it myself. So I went back to school. I was actually the silent student in that book, you know. But it gives a good lesson. It gives people you think. It makes you question. It makes you think and it makes you question, which is what it should do. It's what life should do.
Believe me, that's the other thing too. Much like your interview with Haley, this really made me. I saw myself in a lot of the characters, little bits in a lot of the characters, and I started doing that. I started acting like I was a silent student, and going back and forth with that. So this book works on this. Actually, this book works on a lot of levels. You could read it just as a fiction story, and that's great.
Sure.
You
Sure.
could read it as a psychological thing. That's great too. Or you could just read it for the quotes in the back. So it's all really cool. You kind of led into it a little bit. What did you learn about yourself through the writing process of this book?
How correct I've been all my life, and how correct, but how right I was to examine all my triggers, which I've always done. My husband's always saying, "Can't you let it go?" And I always say no, because it's part of me. So it showed me that the one I told the story on the thing, so many lessons I've learned in my life, but it spurred me on all these different perceptions I have of not being seen, being just one of the kids and feeling left out, which you heard the story on. I can repeat it for you if you like on Haley's interview. Do you want me to repeat that story? Because it's a good one.
Feel
And
free, I'd love to.
I will, because it's probably what spurred me to become who I am. But I didn't know it till many years later. And it was only in thinking about it that I went, wow. Instead of being affected by it, letting it be part of my baggage, I should say thank you, because it made me fight. It was when I was 10 and my parents were discussing my eldest sister's wedding in the kitchen, and I overheard it. They didn't know I was there, and I didn't know I was hearing something I shouldn't hear. And I'm one of five kids, so struggle to find your voice anyway, as anyone from a big family will tell you that you have to find your place. I want to be different. I don't want to be one of the kids. Yes, I do want to be one of the kids, but I also want to be me.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Because there's that lumping in syndrome. Oh, she's one of my kids. No. Anyway, I heard them talking, and I heard my dad say, okay, so my only brother, Mickey, he's going to be the usher. Patty's going to be the bridesmaid, and little sister Nancy, she's going to be the flower girl. And my ears are, opening up then. And then I heard my dad say, what are we going to do about Susie? And I'm sure they didn't mean it that way, but this is all discussed in the book.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if they meant it wrong or not. I perceived it that way. Okay. And then I heard my mom say, well, we better at least buy her a new dress. Do you know what that does to a little kid?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they were great parents. I don't think they meant anything by it, but I felt like I was in the way. That really made me feel strange. And like I went to Detroit as my parents were moving out. I was in my 20s or 30s. And my dad said, go downstairs to see if there's any pictures you want to take because we're relocating to Texas. And I found an 8x10 of that wedding of me holding up my sister's train
Wow.
like this. And you see in my face, you see, I see a little bit of sadness that I wasn't part of the wedding. And also I say determination that I will not be part of this wedding. So and I've been holding up trains ever since. But it's a sweet story, but it's also kind of poignant because it doesn't matter if things were done to you in, maybe they weren't meant to hurt you or whatever. Perception is so much a part of it. And in this book, I examine all that. Okay, you can't change the hurt. You can't change that, but you can change your understanding of it, maybe, and maybe work on that. And which is, I made it positive because, like I said, I now see it as something that spurred me to become more, to not hold up somebody's train, to be somebody. So I was able to put a lot of my own psychology into this book. But like I said, I had to become the silent student to do it.
Well, I think we've all had moments like that where at some point in our life, there's that big moment like that where it could break you or it could strengthen you. And it's great that it strengthened you. I know I've had that moment, and really, I don't mean to sound like a fanboy, but really, there's so much that could be learned in this book, just beyond a great fiction book.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. It's touching people. I'm getting, because I've done maybe 100 interviews already, and it's so interesting. I'm getting the same sentence said two different ways. People who have read it. This one side of the equation, and they'll go, you really made me think. And the other side says, you really made me question things. So two slightly different angles, two sides of the coin. But and neither one is right or wrong. Because the ones that say you made me question, good.
Yeah.
I say, good that you're questioning. I question. As I was writing it, I was going, oh my God, Susie, look at you. So yeah, that's good. And it's a learning process, this book. It's 20 classes. And
Exactly.
it's all about, I'm so glad it's touching people. It's all about taking off the layers and the facades and the masks and getting back to you. That little light, that's you. It's only you. You're that one light. Get back and shake hands with yourself. And the way I see it is then you can finally, indeed, rest in peace.
Nicely tied in.
Yeah.
Now you have a poetry book coming out.
I do. I'm working on my third. I'm nearly finished, just my third one. The first was through my eyes, the second was through my heart, and the third, which completes the trilogy, is through my pain.
And when's that expected out?
Late summer. I'm just finishing it up now. And to me it makes perfect sense. It's life. And I'm 75 now, so I think you do look over the landscape a little bit. You do. I think it's pretty natural. You know, you examine, you examine your choices, you examine your path, you examine what you got left to do. You examine and you should. You should always take stock. Always. And life doesn't just happen. You have to live it.
Absolutely. Susie, before I let you go, I want to mention three things. One, you've done a lot of covers, but my favorite cover of yours is Desperado.
Thank you.
Your version just gives me chills.
You know what? I tell you what, I end the show with that for about 4 or 5 years now. And I'm not kidding you. Many times I see people crying. And I actually am looking for the ones, because I'm a performer. So I'm looking to connect. And so many times I see a guy and, I'll say, you only want the ones you can get, and they're going. And I often have a tear in my eye when I sing that. It's hard not to, because it means something to me. That's why you love it, because you hear that I mean it when I'm singing.
Absolutely.
So it's touching you.
Absolutely. The other thing is, I saw one of your old friends. I saw Henry Winkler last summer, and when I mentioned that I had interviewed you a while ago, his face lit up, and he said, "Isn't she wonderful? She is just such a spark. She is powerful for a little thing." And he
I
said,
love
"Say hi
Henry.
to Susie as if I'm going to talk to Susie next week." But a year later or so, I am telling you that Henry Winkler did
I
say
know.
hi.
We stay in touch, me and Henry and me and Ron and me and Anson and me and Donnie. And both Henry and Ron gave me a quote for this book. I love Henry's. Well, King, this case is closed.
Absolutely.
And Ron, he's such a sweetheart, a family man and lifelong storyteller. Oh, just so sweet, just who they are.
And I have one last silly question, just because I've always wondered it. Leather Tuscadero, the little hip thing with the point, was that you or was that written for you?
No, we decided that I needed what they call in the business a bit of business. It's a bit of business. Something like Jack Lemmon in The Apartment. He would say, "That's how it crumbles, love-wise. That's how it crumbles, cookie-wise." That was his thing. So I think the director said, "You need something visual." So we came up with you, and I went, "So that's it. That's it."
It's iconic.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Susie,
And I had to have something.
thank you so much for your time. I encourage everyone to check out Grave Undertakings. It's again, whether you want to read it for fiction, whether you want to read it for psychology, whether you want to just read the quotes, the gravestone quotes, it'll entertain you on any or all of those levels. I read a lot of books, and this one really is one that touched me. So
Thank
I
you.
thank you for that, and I thank you
Job
for your
done. If I
time.
touched you, as an artist, job done.
Well, you have as a singer and as a writer, so
Thank you. Thank you very
mu
much.
much appreciation, Susie.
Nice to talk to you.
And hopefully, I still want to see you come to Detroit for a concert.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Susie. You have a great day.
It's on my bucket list. Okay, see you later.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.